Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 3rd, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday. Happy Garfield Day to you. Hopefully you got that lasagna. Hopefully not just one piece, but two pieces of that thing with some garlic bread, with some wine. Let's go. My day, it was rough. It was hectic. But overall, we're going to say good. It was solid. Just a lot went on. So we'll start actually at Sunday night. So Sunday night, we got done podcast and everything. We have our dinner. We're good. We're chilling. It's just chicken and rice bowl. Vibes are solid, but I was tired. I was so sleepy. And so I wind up laying my little head down maybe around 9:30 or so. I wake up maybe around 1:45-ish and just cannot go back to sleep. And I'm like, that's no good. This is not a vibe. I'm rolling around in bed. I think I pop up for like a second or two, do a little ritual, do a little, let's say, a la meditation, maybe. And, vibe out for seemingly 2 hours or so. I think I try to lay back down around 3 something. I'm able to go back to sleep, so that's good. But I just wake up knowing I'm going to be very tired, knowing it's going to be a hard uphill day. And this is the start of our peak month. You know what I mean? This is our biggest month of the year. And I'm kind of worried about that now. And not to mention too, while I was laying awake in my state, I'm worrying about life. The things you do, when it's in the middle of the night. How am I going to make this work? How am I going to do that? How am I going to make some ends meet? Shit like that. So I'm coming in on a little bit of a bad note to start my Monday. But we get in there and what do I see but cardboard all around me? And, that was not a good vibe, but I'm like, hey, we expected this. Let's just get started. Let's get to work. Not even 5 minutes in, I shit you not, my dear listeners, I realized the crusher has not been changed out yet. It is full. We are starting off on the worst possible note we can for peak month. I literally can't even work. I can't even do my job. So y'all know what I do. So I put my hands up. They play my song. Yeah, I'm done. I'm already kind of mentally checked out then. All right. So I do a little bit of the other trash. I hang out in maintenance for a bit. Right. At some point, they do wind up switching off the crusher, and I didn't really notice it until maybe after my first break, but I think I maybe missed about 30 minutes to an hour. Oopsie. But we get on it, we're hitting it. I'm just happy to be able to work, and it's not a full day out of action, especially when I literally see cardboard, there's skids everywhere. I know I need to get on this shit. So we get to working, we're grinding through the day, and my secondary comes in. So, all right, let's just kind of keep it cranking. Let's keep it moving. And I will say it was nice because, I don't talk too much to this person at this point. You already know, when they kind of come through, I've kind of gotten into the habit of going over to maintenance and just hanging out, right? Kind of just whatever, especially if there's an extra person who's coming through. It's like, three's a crowd, right? I'm gonna move on. But because of the nature of the work, it's very busy. I'm like, I should stay on this. We should just actually 2-man this, that's fine. And I noticed that the person was a little bit more chatty today. And, we kind of wind up talking, and it was a really solid conversation. I actually really appreciated it. It's always neat to talk to someone who has a completely different walk of life from you. And especially it's one of the beauties of my warehouse is it's just so diverse. So there's a lot of people. I'm literally talking to a person who was born in India, lived in Nepal as well, did came over to the States, and they just have like this completely different worldview in a way. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So it was nice to pick their brain, but then also know this person listens to like cool music. They play cool video games. Like they're a viber. Like it was really dope. And, and also it's a younger person. And in a way, in that regard, I kind of saw myself in that moment where it's just like this person's being very vulnerable and honest, saying like, hey, I'm pretty introverted, but I'm trying to, make things work. I'm trying to get to know people. It's really hard. I miss home, and I completely understand that. It can be hard to feel like you're a stranger in a strange place, and you try to get to know people, and it's just different, and then you wind up, things don't work out, or maybe it's not the right person. I completely understood that. So I don't know. I kind of connected to my coworker in that way, and I like those human moments. You feel me? That was solid. Then literally like towards the very end of the day, another person came through to help out, and I was like, all right, like I said, three's a crowd. I'm going to skedaddle. And I got out of there. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow is better. Let's knock on some wood. Just in terms of like workflow, I really hope Rumpke doesn't hoe me again, and I can just, immediately get to work. No problems. Let's see here. Post work. Oh, let me not forget. I had a fat moment. Food corner. At the top of the day, I go right over to my supervisor and I say, hey, do you have the popcorn from last week? Because we had popcorn that was supposed to come on Wednesday. Like I mentioned, we were supposed to have a treat, or maybe I didn't mention it. I said we didn't get a treat. We were supposed to get a treat. And because of the rain and that they work outside, they couldn't do the popcorn station thing. So they said, okay, we'll push it to Friday. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be here Friday. And even though I had my little crash out, my supervisor was like, hey, I got you on the popcorn. I'll make sure that you get one. And I was like, okay, thank you. And I'm thinking they're going to forget or whatever. And they didn't forget. So I was very happy about that. I had bought a thing of peanut M&Ms, a thing of regular M&Ms, and I throw them into this, what I would call almost like a baby bushel of popcorn. You know what I mean? It's like a pretty big bag for one, for sure. And I just, because I had so much dead time at the top of the day, I just start eating and eating and eating. And then I get the bag down to like pretty much less than a quarter left. And then I go, you know what? I have more white cheddar popcorn in my locker. So after a little bit of time, I go back and I get that and I put that in the popcorn bag and then I finish it all off. So I was on some fat shit. I don't know. Also, all last night, we're just talking about food now. I wanted a cheeseburger so bad. I'm back on my burger fever, y'all. And it's, I cannot oblige. Here's hoping that I don't. I gotta chain myself to the trees or something. I gotta lock myself in a cage because I want a burger. I want a burger with cheese and some fries. Sounds so yummy right now. But, needless to say, I took it out on that bag of popcorn, which I should have probably stretched out for like at least a few days. I ate it all in one sitting. That's my bad. 1.5 sitting. Let's say that. So yeah, needless to say, I needed to work off some calories, right? So best believe I was at the gym. It was very busy. Didn't love that. All the Smith machines were taken. I initially went over to the free weights. They were all pretty, like all the seats were taken, all the benches. And I'm like, man, all right, we got to sub it up. We got to fucking, just get in where we fit in. So I bopped around a little bit. A bench did open up in the free weight area. So I went in, I did just one set over there, like my whole little set thing that I like to do. And did that, went back to some, actually, did I even do any more? Yeah, I think I did a couple more machines, but I'll tell you what, y'all, I actually got social. I got a little social at the gym. Believe it or not, I have about not just one, but technically 2 friends at the gym that I see and I do have conversations with here and now. Here and then, now and then. Anyway, so it was nice to catch up a bit and talk, do a little yapping, instead of sweating. So that was cool. That was actually nice, especially because, like, once again, I was kind of on junk time anyway. So, it's all good. I really didn't feel like I was putting myself that far behind for my day because there really wasn't much to really do when it's like filled with people, right? The whole gym and everything. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to like box someone out over, the lat spread. I'm okay, man. You can have it. So yeah, it was nice to do that, to catch up, and then I got on my cardio, and then more or less got out of there. So that was solid. It was a good workout session. So yeah, that's pretty much all of my Joneses. We're caught up on all of that. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. All right. Now, our first story, actually, a first and second story are some updates. One from like a year back. So we'll start there. From the BBC, Valencia leader resigns over handling of deadly floods. The president of Spain's Valencia region, Carlos Mazón, has resigned after, it might be Mazón, but bear with me, y'all, mea culpa, has resigned after months of pressure over his handling of flash floods last year. A total of 229 people died in towns in the Valencia region on October 29, 2024, with a further 8 dying in neighboring regions in Spain's worst natural disaster for decades. Many in Valencia blame Mazón for the scale of the tragedy because how he and his government responded that day. It emerged that the regional president had spent nearly 4 hours in a restaurant with a journalist, Maribel Villaplana, while the floodwater was wreaking havoc, and he did not attend emergency meetings during much of the day. Mazón's government also failed to issue an emergency alert to the phones of Valencia residents, warning them of floods and providing advice until 20 or yeah, I don't know. I'm not used to speaking in military time, but yeah, 20 hours, 100 hours, whatever. By which times dozens of people had already died. We'll go ahead and read a quote for him. "I can't go on anymore. I know that I made mistakes. I acknowledge it, and I will live with them for the rest of my life," Mazón said as he announced his decision, adding that he should have canceled his schedule for that day to take charge of the crisis. "I have said sorry, and I say it again, but none of the mistakes were due to political calculation or bad faith." Now, I do believe him on this. I don't think he was going out of his way to be evil or malicious that day, but apparently, was it Maribel, the journalist, they were, subpoenaed or whatever to testify, and essentially said dude was on his phone, like getting a bunch of text messages and calls like the entire time, but we still ran the whole interview. We still did the whole lunch. Also, I think the biggest thing for me too, because maybe you can excuse that knowing that it's like, hey man, people are dying and you should be a leader right now. You should be present right now. This can wait. You could say, hey, it's hard to say like you didn't know the severity of it when you were probably getting live updates, but it's like, you're human. What can you do? You're one person, man. But the idea that this all happens and then you hear people fucking like you hear the reaction. People are mad. They're coming for you. They want you to, quit. They want you to be, fired. They want you to maybe even worse, locked in jail for this shit, or even worse. The idea that you're going to say, okay, what we need to do is blame someone else. And I remember, because this takes us back to the time, they wanted to point the finger, Mazón, his administration, his government, they wanted to point the finger at the weather services people, like the people who were in charge of like seeing this, being on track of it and saying this is actually on them. They were the ones who dragged their feet. They didn't tell us in time. That's why this took so like this. That's the reason. That's the problem, not us. And the weather agency is like, we have receipts. What are you talking about? We sent you that information, and then you respond to that information later on. That's not on us. That's not us, dude. So that to me was the last straw. When I heard that, I was like, no, dude, like to try to weasel out of this instead of saying, no, let's fucking kowtow to the people. We were a bad leader. We did not, deliver for you as a government. We did not show up when we needed you or when you needed us. That's our bad. We're sorry. instead of doing that, they said, no, it's not our fault. And then, like, when once again everything kind of came to light, now you're just saying sorry, but I don't want to quit. I'm not going to resign. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not fucking leaving. Well, okay, man, guess what? They're only going to hate you more for this because see, people have lost so much. They've lost family members. They've lost their homes. Their livelihoods have been turned upside down, literally flooded. And it's like you got to have a fancy little dinner or a fancy little lunch. You know what I mean? You're bipping and bopping around and shit. Your life is fine. You're fine. Like, you are clear and present a person to hate. Like, I completely understand that shit. But yeah, let's see. Let's read a little bit further here. Polls have shown that the vast majority of people in Valencia wanted Mazón of the Conservative People's Party, which y'all know I love when a conservative party uses like these fucking liberal terms. Oh yeah, you're for the people, all right? You're really for the PP. To step down because of his management of the floods. Monthly protests were demanding his resignation. Most recently on October 25th, when an estimated 50,000 people turned out on the streets of Valencia. Mazón had been making fewer public appearances in recent months because of the abuse he received from members of the public. However, his insistence on attending the memorial service for victims on the first anniversary of the tragedy last week angered relatives of those who died, and a number of them barracked him. Baracked him? Ooh, is that how you say baracked? Is that how you use it in a sentence? I've always heard barack, and I just think of Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Okay, all right, I'm learning a little bit on the job. All right, they baracked him during the ceremony. I would have just said like harangued or harassed. No, baracked, dude. I'm so barack on baracking people, dude. I gotta stop. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry. This is a stream of conscious. Don't listen to me, but listen to me. Mazón seemed shaken by the experience, which appeared to prompt his decision to resign. So we're going to let the record skip right here. Maybe it is good to bully your local and your major politicians, whatever. Maybe we're on to something as people, because some people will crack under the pressure. They will say, actually, no, I'll come to the funeral. And then you boo them and then you fucking barack them. And they go, okay, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I should go. Yeah, we think you should leave. We think you stink. We think you suck. Boo. Tomato, 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 tomato. Maybe there is something to that. Okay? All right? This is a glimmer of that working out. You know what I mean? You play on some people's sense of fucking shame and remind them how much of a fucking worm they were and are. Maybe they squiggle on out. But then, there's also those soulless motherfuckers who are, once again, I'm not fucking leaving. In fact, I'll make it worse. I mean, look at your BBs out there, if you know. Anyway, let me see here. I more or less covered what I wanted to cover here. Obviously, there's details, but yeah, man, we're a year out and Valencia remembers. I completely get it. I know that these natural disasters can kind of feel like they can come and they can go, but I've mentioned this before where it's like your whole life has been uprooted. And especially in these kind of moments where you go, no. Something could have been handled better here. And it's glaring and it's apparent. And literally you have a government that's just like, yeah, sorry, we fucked up. But like they were even reluctant in the beginning to even admit that. Like, so yeah, no, it is fuck them. I completely understand that sentiment. I completely understand that anger, that seething frustration to be like, something's got to be done here. I guess before we bop on out of here, I should mention that we don't know who the replacement's going to be. There's a lot of political yada, yada, yada that we could get into about Valencia. We won't. That's weeds talk. We'll stick to, the flood related stuff for right now. But maybe we'll come back and talk more Spanish. How about that? Talk more Spain related stuff. That'd be kind of nice, maybe, Anyway, let's move on. We actually gotta zoom, zap over to America. We gotta talk about SMAP. I wish I was talking about, not people losing their benefits. Maybe like a fun little card game I play called Marvel Snap. That'd be fun. It's nerdy, but like it'd be much lighter conversation than, once again, people potentially starving, children potentially not having fucking food. But anyway, let's fucking get into it. From CNN. Trump administration will provide only half of usual food stamp benefits in November. The Trump administration said Monday that it will provide only half of the normal food stamp benefits for November by tapping into the program's contingency fund amid the government shutdown. But recipients are not likely to see the payments immediately. Some $4.65 billion from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, contingency fund will be obligated to cover 50% of eligible households' current allotments for November, according to a sworn statement from a U.S. Department of Agriculture official submitted in federal court. The remaining $600 million in the fund will be used for state administrative expenses and nutrition assistance for Puerto Rico and American Samoa. Let's see. We have a little bit more, recap of what we've already kind of talked about in terms of a judge from Rhode Island, a judge from Boston, essentially trying to, file an injunction telling, no, Trump or this administration, you guys have to fund SNAP. That's not a negotiable thing. Shutdown or not, this has to get funded. You guys got to make that shit work. You guys got to open that shit up somehow. And, we've already talked about how Trump has kind of been like, well, I don't know, my hands are tied. The court's got to find a way out on that. They got to tell me what to do here. I'm all ears. I would love to make sure that the kiddos eat. It's like, oh, yeah, now you're game. Yeah, sure. But, I mean, it's half. It's something. It is better than nothing. I think that generally just talking to people and stuff, that's kind of what we're hearing in terms of what we're talking about. But there's also a thing in terms of doing any kind of changes, which I'm going to just summarize a bit from this article, is making these kind of changes. Well, at least you're right. It is better than nothing. It is going to be hard. It's going to be a delayed thing. You're not immediately now just getting access to that half, which is still not a fucking enough. But also there's going to be jam ups in terms of we have to reallocate things. And this is not how we're supposed to go about doing it. There's a whole, the word I love to use, rigmarole that's going to come from this that we have to get through and go through to fix all this and make it all work. That's not quick. That's not efficient. We're talking bureaucratic bullshit, nightmare shit. And so once again, something is better than nothing. But once again, it is delayed. It is delayed while people are literally, running out of the resources now. You know what I mean? So it's just a sad state of fucking affairs, man. Once again, kind of going back to the conversation I had with my coworker, we were just talking about how crazy it is to kind of live in America and just the difference in changes and how coming from some places and stuff, there's such a emphasis and focus on community, but then you come to America and there's just something else. And to me, I kind of said yeah, it's almost there's a shift to being an individual, but an individual that's kind of out on your own. And if you can't get it on your own, you can't get it by your own means, you're kind of ate, you're kind of just cooked. And at one point I kind of said, and this is a stolen line, but America kind of comes off as a poor person with really nothing on but a damn Gucci belt. You know what I mean? You're in tatters, you're in fucking rags and shit, but at least you got that shit on though. At least you got that belt, right? Everybody knows you rocking that shit. It's designer, baby, but there's nothing else under the hood. There's nothing there. You look like shit. You smell like shit. And that's kind of how America looks and feels, which it's crazy because, there is so much wealth in America. We have so much money. We generate so much money, but where does it fucking go? It just gets fucking ethered all the way up to the people who are just re-netting this shit for themselves. It fucking sucks as you or I struggle check to check, trying to dodge a fucking calamity, and we're the lucky ones. It shouldn't be like this, man. That's fucking crazy. That once again, America, we never have to get here. We never have to fucking be here. But here we are fighting for healthcare. Here we are in situations where it's hey, you have people who are totally fine and down with healthcare being fucking stripped from people because, you didn't really work it. You didn't fucking deserve it. You should be getting a job, which, mind you, most people do have a job, by the way, who are on these fucking things. I hate that sentiment. It's such a dog whistle that you're a fucking racist prick, by the way. I definitely heard, I'm getting anecdotal here. I heard my coworker, one of my little fucking coworkers talking about this shit, and they said it, and they literally flat out said it. And the cruelest, saddest thing, it almost makes me want to fucking cry, laugh, whatever. But I listened to him talk a little bit longer, maybe about 10 minutes after he said that snide shit about just people scamming the system. He literally talks about this close friend that he has that he knows was a hardworking son of a bitch, who knows he was doing his shit, but his back fucking blew out. And now he's fucking shit out of fucking luck. And this fucking shutdown is jamming his shit up, and now he has nothing. He was already barely getting something anyway. And I wanted to blurt out, like, is that one of your do-nothing guys leeching on the system? But I have a fucking heart, believe it or not. I know I come off as a mean son of a bitch sometimes, you know, laughing at motherfucking Nyan and whatnot. But believe it or not, I do have a heart. I do fucking care about real fucking people who want to be people. It, like, not fucking try to game. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, it was so sad to hear this motherfucker say both of those things. Like, to know. He knows what it is. So how do I reach that guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the fucking debate you have with a guy like that to turn him over? The whole MAGA thing or whatever, insert conservative movement here, wherever you are, in whatever country, there's always a guy. There's always a fucking woman, whoever, they, them. There's a person like that. There's a piece of shit like that. You work alongside a motherfucker like that. It unnerves me to no end. Because, like, once again, how do you do this, man? How do you make this all work in your head? That's crazy. The least you could do is just treat people like people, right? Like, and say, man, if you're hard on your luck, you should get something. Goddamn, I want that for me. I want that for you. Like, it's just so deflating because, once again, I just really don't know how to really sit down and talk with people like that. And I mean, it's something I spent some of my 20s wanting to do and trying to do here and there, but I just got so burnt out on it. You know what I mean? And now I'm this crispy ass 35-year-old, and I'm just so over that shit. Like, the best I can do is this podcast, you know, where I at least throw it out to the ether, and maybe someone gives me some message in a bottle, you know, via a comment or something, or at least we can all share in this experience together. You know, I can kind of, you know, have that. But, like, it's just crazy that we're here as America. I know I'm once again, I'm in the weeds. I'm off the rails here, but, like, this never had to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, we never had to fucking be here in this situation via the shutdown, via the snap, like, you know, program being fucking cut, like, and so much fucking more, man. Like, thinking about, like, the fucking people in aviation right now. You know what I mean? You're working fucking air traffic controller and shit for free. Why? Why is this happening? Like, that's insane. It shouldn't be like this, man. Like, so, I don't know. I don't have any fucking answers to it, obviously, but anyway, we're going to move. We zig, now it's time to zag. We're going back. We're going to Europe. We're going to Rome. Let me take a water break. I spent too long on that. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how worked up I was going to be. When I queued this up, that was not the plan. Oh, man. Ugh, okay. From the BBC. Worker dies after partial collapse of medieval tower in Rome. A worker who was trapped after part of a medieval tower collapsed in the heart of Rome has died, according to hospital officials. Octave Striosi, which I'm sure I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry, mea culpa, was pulled free at 2300 local time, nearly 12 hours after a section of the Torre dei Conti on the edge of the famous Roman Forum and close to the Colosseum gave way and trapped him beneath. His heart stopped in the ambulance, and doctors at the hospital he was rushed to were unable to save him. The Romanian Foreign Ministry said Striosi was a Romanian national, as was another worker among 3 others pulled from the rubble. One is said to be in a critical condition. Striosi's rescue was initially described as an exceptional feat by firefighters who had worked late into the night. Rescue teams used drones and rubble clearers to try to reach him, despite the risk that the fragile tower could collapse further. Now, I want to pause here and say that it still should be described as an exceptional feat that they were able to pull him out. Like, at one point before he winds up passing away, he is talking, like, he is communicative. Like, you think that things are going to be okay from here. And not to mention, like, that was very daring. Like, that, to be able to pull off something so complex and to not have, like, a further disaster, that is very good. Like, that's awesome. But it's just unfortunate that it just wasn't enough. You know, the damage had already been done, so to speak. But Strozzi had been carrying out conservation work on the medieval tower, which is part of the Roman Forum, one of this city's busiest tourist sites. But this particular building had been empty and abandoned for many years. The Rome prosecutor's office has opened an investigation into the incident. Efforts to rescue Strozzi, reported to be in his 60s, were interrupted when a second section of the 29-meter or 90-foot high tower began crumbling again, with bricks raining down, creating a huge cloud of dust. Earlier, Rome prefect Lamberto Gianni had described it as a very complex situation. Gianni said that after the initial collapse, firefighters had put up some protection around the trapped man. So when the second collapse happened, they obviously shielded him. There's a bit more details here, but we'll close off with a bit of the factoid here. The 13th century tower is part of the Roman Forum, a major tourist attraction in the center of Rome, but it is separated from the main visitors area by a road. The streets all around have been taped off by police as a precaution. The medieval tower was built by Pope Innocent III as a residence for his brother. So there you go. The more you know. Let's go ahead, and we have one more story that I wanted to get to. It is a bit serious. In a way, it winds up being a bit of an update, because I'm not sure if we covered the story directly when it happened last year, but I know for a fact I at least mentioned it offhand. But yeah, it's a pretty it's a heavy story. So it's also we're talking some Israel-Gaza stuff. So there's that. But yeah, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we will go ahead and close it out. All right. From The Guardian. Israel's top military lawyer arrested after she admitted leaking videos of soldiers' abuse. Police in Israel have arrested and detained the military's top legal officer after she admitted leaking footage of soldiers allegedly attacking a Palestinian detainee and then, in effect, lying about her actions to Israel's high court. The military advocate general Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, I'm probably fucking that up, my bad, said in a resignation letter last week that she had authorized publication of the video to defuse attacks on military investigators and prosecutors working on the case. Right-wing politicians and pundits championed soldiers detained over the case as heroes, attacked military investigators as traitors, and called for the case against the soldiers to be dropped. Tomir Yerushalmi, I know I'm gonna keep fucking that up, and it's not Shalami, it's Shalmi. Yerushalmi, we're gonna say Yerushalmi, has now been arrested on suspicion of fraud and breach of trust, abuse of office, obstruction of justice, and disclosure of official information by a public servant, Israeli media reported. Her arrest and detention raises serious questions about the rule of law in Israel, accountability for abuse and killing of Palestinians during what an UN commission called a genocidal war, and the country's ability to defend itself in international courts. In July of 2024, prosecutors raided the Sid Taiman military detention center, which has become notorious for torture, and detained 11 soldiers for interrogation. Excuse me, one second. They were suspects in a violent assault on a Palestinian from Gaza, including anal rape. The victim was hospitalized with injuries including broken ribs, a punctured lung, and rectal damage, according to the indictment. And Tomer Yerushalmi launched an investigation. The government and far-right politicians and pundits have accused her of damaging Israel's global standing by pursuing the case and releasing the video, in effect casting her efforts to prosecute extreme violence as a project to undermine the state. Like, it's so crazy that this is like the logic from people on this side. And I mean, overall, this seems to be more or less a prevailing sentiment. I mean, you could say, well, there's people on the left that want this, but it's so muted that I haven't heard people come up and say that. And any of these news outlets, either from The Guardian or the BBC, haven't heard any of that. Like, you just hear people saying, no, she shouldn't be doing this. This is against what we're trying to do. Like, she's going against her own people here. She's a traitor to her people. Like, it even goes as far, and I'm jumping ahead here, but Israel Katz, who is I think their defense minister or whatever the fuck, says what she puts out as blood libel. And it's like, what do you mean it's blood libel? Like, we're making this up to damage the people. Like, what are we talking about here? It's video evidence. You guys did it on camera. And it's like, nah, you shouldn't have. That's bad for the brand. That's essentially what we're talking about here. That is the logic at play here. And that's supposed to be normal. That's supposed to be moral from the quote-unquote most moral army in the world. I'm definitely putting that in quotations. You ain't... What? How? Where? Let's keep reading. The indictment from Sid Taiman... Sid Taiman caused immense damage to the image of the state of Israel and the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. The Israeli minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, said in a statement on Sunday, this is perhaps the most severe public relations attack that the state of Israel has experienced since its establishment. Like, they're doing this motherfucker like she's Edward Snowden. And it's like, once again, for revealing a truth, revealing a thing that you guys did. And you thought you were just doing it in the dark? And God forbid someone says, hey, this is what we did, and we need to look into it. Yeah, no, that's criminal what you did. You should have never released that kind of information. You're supposed to be protecting us. You want to say kudos for doing your job, but then when you hear what she's like, her reasoning for it, it wasn't really for that. It was she says it's like, hey, I'm trying to do this so that we're quote unquote bulletproof here. Like, at least we do have someone calling this out from within and not without. And it's like, that's crazy to say all that long shit when you could just say, this is fucked up. Like, this is wrong what happened. And I want to make sure this doesn't happen again, ever. This should never have happened. But you don't go about it that way. So it's not like I'm talking about a good person here, in my opinion. No, I think this is a situation of all bad actors. But she's caught in a situation of like, no, I got to stand on business. And I guess I say, hey, I appreciate you for doing that. Good. But I mean, I guess here we are now. Now you're gonna face some music for doing that. After the first detentions of soldiers in the case in summer 2024, a far-right mob gathered outside Sid Taiman, calling for the investigation to be dropped. Some of the protesters, including a minister and 2 members of the Knesset, broke into the base. Like, just like hooliganism style shit, and they're just allowed to do it. Like, literally, they're doing like their January 6th shit about this, and it's fine, and it's okay. Like, I don't know if any of these people face any kind of fucking like real justice or consequence. Tomer Yerushalmi, I can't get it right. Yerushalmi leaked the video in August of 2024 after the protests, saying in her resignation letter that it was an attempt to debunk false propaganda against army law enforcement bodies. And I mean, you could say, oh, well, this is this person trying to save face for what they did. Like, they wanted to do the right thing, and this is how you defend it, right? In a legal way. I guess, man, it's hard to make heads or tails out of that. I kind of just got to call balls and strikes as best I can, because it's what you're saying. There's not an interview or presser where you go, no, this was wrong and it shouldn't have happened. So that's why I said, no, someone's got to do something about this. People should know about this, because you're right. People should. That's a terrible fucking thing to do to another fucking human being. That's some SVU ass fucking shit. And it's like, yeah, no, you're allowed to do that. This is a war. This is a war. Remember October 7th. You're crazy. Like, let us do this. That's the world we live in. Like, that's crazy. It is one of those that just makes me so mad that this is just reality, man. Days later, 5 soldiers were charged with aggravated abuse and causing serious bodily harm. They have not been named and are currently not in custody or under any legal restrictions, Israeli media reported. Tomer Yerushalmi subsequently refused to open or advance investigation into other cases of possible war crimes by the Israeli military because of the pressure of public attacks over the case, Haaretz reported. There has been only one conviction of an Israeli soldier for assaulting Palestinians in detention during the war, although widespread torture and abuse have been documented in Israel's jail system, and dozens of Palestinians have died in captivity. No soldiers have been charged for killing civilians in Gaza, even after high-profile attacks that prompted international outrage, including the killing of paramedics and strikes on a team from the World Central Kitchen charity. Tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza have been killed in attacks and airstrikes over 2 years. Attacks on Tomer Yerushalmi over the Sid Timan affair intensified in recent days amid reports that she was responsible for leaking the video. There were official demands for her to step down and personal threats online, even after she announced her resignation. The campaign briefly halted on Sunday afternoon amid fears for her life after her partner reported her missing to the police and her car was found empty at a beach in Tel Aviv area with a note inside, Israeli media reported. Then she was found, and within minutes, the attacks resumed. The far-right commentator Yanan Magal posted on X, "We can proceed with the lynching," adding a winking emoji. You're just allowed to say that on X, by the way. So that's cool. That's awesome that you can do that to, once again, another human being for, once again, doing the right thing, leaking information that people should know about. And it's like, nah, you should die, bro. It's crazy. And this is another aside, man. I wish we could take it back to a time where when you wanted to be a fanatic like that, you had to like write a letter. You had to write a letter and like get it a postage stamp. You got to know the person's address and you got to lick that shit down and then put that shit and, send that to the postman. You know what I mean? Like you had to go to UPS or USPS, whatever, you know what I mean? Now you can just clickety clack on your phone or your keyboard and just say the craziest, foulest shit. And like, it doesn't even have to be in the DMs anymore. You can just say that on the main feed. Like, that's wild. And then, maybe there's going to be someone who's like, oh, pussy in bio. I shouldn't say that. That's crazy. But like, that was definitely like, X, like not even like what, last year? So yeah, that's great that we live in these fast flying times. Anyway, let me keep going. Soon after protesters had gathered outside her house, Israeli media reported shouting slogans including, "We will give you no peace." The defense minister, I did get it right there, Israel Katz, later accused her of spreading blood libels. Traditionally, Israel's government and military have considered the existence of an independent judiciary as a crucial barrier to international legal tribunals investigating Israel for alleged abuses against Palestinians. I mean, there's more details here, but this just reminds me that stuff like this has just been used as a fig leaf, as a fucking veiled fucking veneer to say we're trying to do the right thing here. We are actually trying to conduct this in the most moral, ethical way that we think we can. And we're going to police ourselves and do the right thing. But like, once again, post this October 7th situation, since what is it, the how many times 9/11s or whatever happened to them, they have felt the need to just say, no, we don't need that. Because once again, I guess you were right. You don't. You get to do this shit in wide open, in daylight, with people telling you what's happening every day, giving you the blow by blow by blow by blow, and no one is coming up to stop you. America is only going to fund you for it. It's only going to support you and back you to the hilt, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a fucking Republican. They're going to fucking support you and back you up. So, yeah, you don't need this shit. So, yeah, if someone's within this sphere actually going to, quote, do their job, well, fuck you. You should actually go to jail or worse. And that's what we have here. So potentially she is going to be dealing with her crime of telling the truth. And the people who did this shit are, who knows, not going to face any kind of justice. They're not even going to get a slap on the wrist. You don't even get to know who they are. Okay, so yeah, And we're not done yet. I mean, obviously this shit is still going on. You know, we're still on part one, whatever, of this ceasefire road to peace by Donald Trump. I don't know, man. Yeah, this shit sucks. This shit's hard, bro. I did not think I was gonna be so bummed by the end of this, but you know, that's why I like to put the shit up at the top and I try to get away from it, I guess. I don't know, man. But we're gonna do a double closeout or last break. I need it. Oh, what a world. Okay. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com. So let's just say a news. Become a newsie today. That would be sick. That would be super cool if you did that. We did the roll call just the other day. You know what it is. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. All the stars are appreciated. We like 5 of them things, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're on Apple Podcast, wherever they offer that option. Give me a nice review, please. It's neat. It's nice. You know what I mean? It's like a Yelp thing. Like, hey, this is a good restaurant. Even though you know it wasn't the best restaurant, but the vibe was kind of right. You know what I mean? I want to be that kind of hole in the wall little restaurant for you. I want to be that little dive bar for you. Okay? Cash only. But you know it's going to be good. You know the vibe's going to be tight, right? All right? Okay? It's a little dark, it's a little dingy, but it's okay here. That's what I want to be for you. Okay? Just let me be that at 5 stars. 5 stars. But no, truly none of that shit matters, man. I don't care. I know the numbers are low. I know I do this shit for literally a handful of motherfuckers, but y'all my motherfuckers, and I love y'all. I really do. I appreciate you just kicking it with me. You know, however you got here with me, and the reason you say, hey, I fuck with you like that, I fuck with your vibe, I'm with your frequency. Thank you. Thank you for that. It really does mean a lot to me. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.